Good morning. September 26th, 10:13 a.m. We're discussing the retirement plan for IUPA, Article 29. We've added some language. The city shall pay the $5,000 towards the cost of the Freeman Little. I'm sorry. Let us introduce ourselves. My name is Melanie Donnelly, Administrative Services Director.
John McKinney, Finance.
Assistant Chief Bill Proctor.
Deputy City Manager Katrina Powell.
Brian Lambert, Attorney IUPA.
Chris Raines, Vice President of IUPA.
Jared Alvasados, President IUPA.
Today we're talking about Article 29, the retirement plan. I forwarded over you a copy, added a 29.3. The city shall pay $5,000 towards the cost of the Freeman Little actuarial study for the initial impact study completed on October 1st, 22, and shall pay for an additional actuarial impact study during fiscal year 23 to consider the impacts of the following items. 1, maximum annual benefit increase to $120,000. 2, employee contribution of 8%. 3, COLA or drop.
And our counter last time was we wanted the final compensation years also added in, right? That's what we were talking about last time also.
Yes, you asked for 3 different things. The average final comp,
Right.
3 years, the retirement, no more retirement day, and the drop.
So what is the, excuse me, what's the city's mindset of moving these? Because I thought we were in agreement last time.
So we took the council
Right.
at the shade meeting on the 13th. The 3 things that was already agreed upon and the 3 things that y'all wanted added to it. We provided all the required information for them, and they would only agree to fund the 1 additional item for the drop. That was it. So I can tell you that, the pension board had given me permission to call Chad. I spoke to Mr. Little. He did provide me with the information that, to do all 6 would be roughly $21,000. So, I did put, or individually 3,000. So I don't really know if it's 6 times 3 is only 8, but anyway, it would be no more than 21. The only other thing that he was cautious to me on is that, as we discussed previously, you can't potentially do this one without that one. So he was going to get back with us at a later date after speaking with his partner of if we do the 6 items, which direction, or sorry, which one has to be done first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Do these out of the 6, or 2 of them have to be done? You can't do them individually. So that's not me. I'm not an actuary. But again, we went, and Chief was in there. They just would not budge off of adding the drop only. So I can't
To
tell
study
you why.
it. To study it for the new numbers, or they're saying they're going to fight the drop in general.
No.
Okay.
They agreed to pay for the drop.
Okay.
So out of the 3 items you requested,
Right.
they agreed to do drop. They
Mhm.
would not do the average final compensation nor
Mhm.
normal retirement date.
So to not study it, they don't want to pay to study them, or they're
That's
making
correct.
it, okay,
You can pay to study it,
Mhm.
but they will not pay for that.
okay. Which I can understand, right? You're paying for something, you want to do it, but and I guess I'll reflect back to last time is, I hope it was, it was relayed correctly, like, for you all as a city to study these topics, I wanted to make sure that it doesn't come off as though these are the items that would be valuable to negotiate, because I want to make sure that's crystal clear, is those items in of itself are not going to be a yes. It's not going to, and we have to, I want to also pay attention to the fact that the city is asking to postpone these negotiations so you can get these correct figures. I understand that. Now the one thing I would like to clarify is that, I know you spoke to Mr. Little's office, but I talked to the pension personnel myself also, and one foreseeable problem I see, or I guess what I would like to get clarified, is did you guys clarify that you're going to have access to that fiscal quarter data? Because the way it was relayed to me is that October 1st data takes some time to get before it's ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that
So-
was discussed at length.
Right.
So we told them, council, just like I said to you at our last meeting, is that when we close our books, 9:30, then, so I don't have it in front of me, the October 13th pay will have some of September, some of October on it. Once we complete that October 13th payroll, then that's when we send everything to them, to Chad, including, what your employee contributions were, the city's contributions, who the terminated, the new hires, all that gets sent to Mr. Little. We try to get all of that to them no later than November 1st, because it's all part of the annual audit. Like I said to you, and I said to council, and everyone sitting over here was in that room, I said, they told us in that could take, upwards of 60 to 90 days to complete. They cannot complete all of this without the entire valuation being completed. So the sooner we get it in here, then they should have this early part of January, but no later than the end of January, so that we could be having these discussions with you guys the end of January to first part of February. That's on me, my staff, to get everything to Mr. Little in a timely fashion. And I would tell you that out of the three, you would be the one that I would want to, group that I'd want to focus on first, because we have an agreement.
Sure.
But it was relayed to council that we would come back and start these negotiations again, like I said, latter part of January, early part of February. And there seemed to be no issues with that. And we relayed to them too, just like what you told to us, is that we don't want to, think that there's a commingling of the pension benefits and the raises for next year, because it was said and agreed and understood that these are two separate issues.
Which is fine, and like I said, I don't have an issue with this, the mindset of trying to get fresher data. And if you're telling me that you're relaying the information properly, because I just don't want to, my major concern is that this is we delayed it longer for them to come back and go, yep, we're still not interested. And I don't want that to be the case. I also don't want it to be the case of, hey, we studied what we wanted and we're willing to do these things, but not what you guys wanted, and we're not willing to talk about it. And I want to make sure that that's relayed correctly, that you having a little bit more updated data that you're requesting, which is great. And if it aids the city councils in a decision of what they're choosing and how they're properly educated now and they feel comfortable with it, great. But if it's just a means for them to go, well, we only studied this, we didn't add in we didn't do the normal retirement date, so we don't have that data, and we didn't do the average final conference, so we don't have that data, so we're not going to include that with our offer. And I want to make sure that, again, I am bargaining I'm bargaining for my group as well as I'm bargaining for people who are not attached to my group. And those people are watching this very closely, and they're going to see something like that, and they're going to wonder, is this another stall tactic from the city to try to go, oh, we didn't study it. Sorry, if you had wanted to, we would have included it. My position, and I'm going to continue on this position, that I have heard no valid reasoning from the council why they can't make that group 3 work. So doing this extra study to get this fresher data, if it aids them in making that decision, just telling you that my decision is going to be, it's going to be group 3. It's going to take care of your recruitment. It's going to take care of the people who are here, that experience that is walking out the door right now. And that's the only thing that is going to contain these newer officers or pull in some newer officers. So I just don't want to be caught, especially when we're talking about moving the contribution. That is the amount of feedback, I'll be nice with that word, that I got, it was hatred. That was hatred. And for the tier 1 people to go, and you want to move my thing 0.5%, and you're talking about adding petty little things that don't even affect me, they're not going to go for it. So I want to be careful when we're talking about this, because you're obviously spending your money, and I'm that's great, but you may be spending your money to study something to push an objective that you're not going to get. And I want to be clear that there's not going to be a talk later. We let's make this work. We won't make it work. I have a definitive no from what was offered. I have a definitive no that if the tier 1 people don't see the benefit, they are not going to go for it. I have a definitive no from people that the higher ranks of the police department in a different group, that they're absolutely going, there's no way we're going to go for that. So I want to just, I want that to be out in the open, very honest, because I don't want to keep kicking cans. I don't like it. It's not something I enjoy doing. So I want to make that clear. And if we could talk, and if that's the goal, if there was a direction from the city council that said, listen, we are not going to go for this retirement date, and we're not going to go for this average final compensation, then I would say save your money, because we're not going to make any headway.
So your chief was in that room.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, Jared, that we are relaying lock, stock, and barrel,
Mm-hmm.
everything that you've asked. I might be the finance director. I am the finance director.
You are. I'm not.
But I cannot pay anything that the city council doesn't authorize.
Right.
So I might have the purse strings, but that purse string has caveats to it.
Right.
So unless council authorizes me to do something, I can't pay for it.
Correct.
If you believe it's a stall tactic, it's not by the 4 people sitting at this table over here. That has not been said, it's not been relayed. So I can neither confirm nor deny that statement that you've made. All I can tell you is that I don't feel that council has not relayed at numerous meetings in public of their concern over the current market value of not only your pension plan, but everything in general.
Right.
Okay. That is one of the things, just from setting the millage rate that they set last week,
Mm-hmm.
they set that because they're worried about what's happening in the economy.
Mm.
So I don't feel that anyone is against option 3.
Okay.
However, when the information came in, and then a couple of days later, because there's one council member on each of the 3 pension plans, and they've all heard the same information.
Mm-hmm.
Market values are rapidly declining. There is flux in the future.
Mhm.
You know, so, you know, if they put in an estimated $300,000 today for option 3,
Mhm.
their concern is, well, when the new study, you know, the new valuation comes out, that 300,000 went to 600,000.
Mhm.
So as a taxpayer, which we all are, that should be a concern.
But here's my thought to that, okay? So the question I guess the first question I'm asking is, like we're talking about. I understand that you have to get that approval. If they say, hey, I want to a la carte, this is what we want to do. I understand that. That's your position. You have to do what they say. It's not your money. I get it. My question was it relayed to them? Because this needs to be a well-to-do meeting where, hey, just so hey, council, just so you know, this is what the union said, that they're not going to let you study this for you to come back and go, hey, we'll give you these couple things that we want to study. We're not doing the rest. And I wanted that relayed to them correctly so they know. Then later I don't meet them and go, well, we would have put that extra stuff in there, but it wasn't. We didn't know you guys wouldn't take it flat out. No, I want that. They need to be told that hey, they're not going to go for these little a la carte things. This is their grouping, and this is what they wanted, and this is what they want to make work. So I just wanted it relayed to them. I get it. It's not your decision to study how they spend the money, and that's fine. If they're not, if they want to have those better numbers, that's okay. I want to just make sure that they know that later on when they come back and go, yep, we're still not willing to do what they wanted, but we'll do these couple things, that it's going to be a flat no. And I've had, in my position, the reason I am in my position is because the officers and the sergeants of this police department, and I honestly have a lot of backing from the administrators too, which is, it makes me feel good, but they know that I do not walk back what I say. And when I say it's a flat no, it's a flat no. There's no piecemealing it. And the other thing I want to make sure is, because yes, we're talking about that. Yeah, it's 280,000 for that grouping, and then hey, what if it could? Well, in all honesty, how are we going to know? Because we're piecemealing it. So now you're going to get a different valuation for Group 3 because you piecemealed it. So you're not going to have normal retirement date moved. So it's going to look different. So that's the first problem I see is, well, where you just piecemeal number 3. So now you're going to see a different valuation. I said, now what's the new argument? Well, we didn't add those things. I said, because if it shows up and it was cheaper, well, the council's just going to go, well, it was cheaper because we didn't put those things in.
And also, how do we know the next time around we come to do this, we're not going to be told the same thing? Well, the economy's gotten worse, the numbers have changed, so now we can't accurately negotiate on this because we don't know what the price is. I mean, theoretically, this could go on and on every time and go, well, the economy's changed, we got to do another study. So how do we know that, what's the point where the council goes, okay, we're just going to go what we have? Because they could always want to do another study, right, to go, well, we don't have the most up-to-date data because it takes months to get the data from before, and then we have to negotiate more, and there's more meetings. They're always behind, right? We all are.
We're always in arrears.
Exactly. So where do they draw that line, though? How do we know we're not going to sit down in January after this study, and then it's going to be the same thing, right? Well, the economy got a lot worse, and we're worried it's going to cost more now, so we need to do another one. Because
That's not up to any of the individuals.
I understand, I know it's not, but I'm saying that's some of the concern from the membership, right? It's already happened once, where now we have to do another study to get more up-to-date data, even though it will technically be a few months behind. How do we know it's not going to happen again? We've now just delayed things to an entirely different fiscal year and a different calendar year as well, for no reason.
I think at the end of the day, the council putting money in the game, that means that they have skin now.
Well, we thought that
Sure.
the first time as well, right? How much money did they put in only to sit down and go, the council made it clear they do not want to discuss any of these things right now. We made that same argument the first time,
So
right?
go backwards a little bit, okay? If you go back, where we lost what, $7-8 million, back in, through June 30th, then y'all made, so y'all rebounded very well
Mhm.
over the last 60 days.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that is just, that was actually brought up at the last council meeting, and that, council's wanting, potentially additional oversight in the three pensions on making sure that the investment mix is set, that it's making gains.
Mhm.
And I think that y'all obviously made some changes in y'all's investment mix to rebound as well as y'all did. So, but that's,
But to your point about now they have skin in the game, so they had that before because we agreed to split the cost of the first study. And that was our argument when we sat down and you guys came in and the city had told you they didn't want to negotiate on any of that. They weren't willing to offer anything. We made that same argument, right? Well, then why'd you agree to pay half this if you didn't want to negotiate? So that argument to me doesn't hold a lot of water because they had skin in the game the first time, even though it might be a relatively small amount for the city, but they did then as well. And they didn't want to give us anything, even the cheapest option that cost less than 1%. So that doesn't hold up to me to say, well, now they're willing because they're going to pay for this study. You already paid for half a study.
And
Again, I know it's not you guys, but is the city as a whole.
Right.
So that again worries me in the membership that how do we know come January it's not going to be, economy's just worsened since then. So we can't really talk about it until we get more up-to-date numbers.
And here's the thing, okay? You all have been hired by the city. You are there to tell the city council what's going on. If there's a crack in a water main, someone's there to tell the city council, hey, we gotta fix this, we gotta do it now, and this is why. If the bridge is falling apart, this is why we gotta fix this right now. That's your position, is to tell them, hey, this is what's going on, this is a substantial problem. This is a way to make this is a way to plug this hole for the time being. And we could have had this done already. Done. And it was not that scary. It was not that scary to say a $280,000 thing to plug this major looking hole. And now here we go. We're still seeing it. And I said, and here's what's going to happen is these officers, these personnel who are watching what's going on, I keep losing them. I'm losing their morale. I'm losing their desire to be here. They're applying different places. I can't stop the leak. No one will give me the tools to do it. I'm telling you that the council is so concerned about money and property. The property is going to decline once no one is patrolling the roads. That's when your property is going to decline. And what needs to be going on from the staff side is that someone has to go to them and go, hey, this is what we're seeing. The police department is seeing this. Fire is seeing this. Water Public Works is seeing this. We have a major problem. And when we have all these home builders and these businesses, and especially the home builders, because we'll be honest, that's predominantly people are moving here because, what is it? Safe. They're moving here because it's safe. When it's not safe anymore, when the parks aren't updated anymore, when the policing's not updated anymore, when traffic is at a point where people are crashing into each other like Orlando, New York City, they don't care, they just do what they want, we're not facilitating our same services, those people are gonna just go to different cities. They'll take their profit from their home and they're gonna leave. They're just gonna go. And we could be plugging this hole, but the crack continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think right now I'm at a 30% drop in patrol. 30%. I mean, that is wild. The council should be going, why? Why are we 30% down right now? We made it past COVID. We made it past the hatred. We're cleared the hatred, honestly. But why the hell are they still leaving? Well, shit, we'll tell you. They don't want to listen to it, or it's not being relayed. But I'll go with the latter because I think it's more that. Well, everything looks fine for right now, but guess what? Your water heater your water heater looks great until it doesn't, until it explodes. And I'm seeing this move as they could be transparent and go, hey, we're going to give you group 3. We want to make group 3 work. We want to run one more set of numbers to confirm that. If they said that, if they were being transparent about it, then I could wash that morale dip away. And these guys go, okay, cool. I have something to look forward to. But they're not seeing it. They're not seeing that. And I can't convince them of it. How can I convince them of it? I went from council's not interested at all to we want to rerun numbers. It's too much. We're getting inundated with calls. We are not going to be able to survive the incoming storm. That's hurricane crap aside. That's easy. And that's, I really don't care about hurricanes. We're Florida. We're prepared fully for hurricanes. That's an allowing. We don't even care about those things. I'm talking about your crime. Your services, your crime. When people are calling for a fire and no one's responding anymore, the trucks are backed up. They keep seeing the same South Daytona engine for some reason in our city. That makes them mad. Why is a Ponce Inlet unit coming to our city? Why is a fire engine from South Daytona responding to our calls? Well, our trucks are down. No one's working on it. We're not funding them. The fire departments, we have 3 stations that are taking the opportunity to go down. They're understaffed. Those people are going to leave. They're going to leave. And the citizens are starting to ask, which, not in my opinion, not enough of them care enough to know right now. Silver Sands Middle School, you all would love to see the calls that are generated there every single day. There's 4 calls average a day at that school, that one school. It's and the parents, same thing. Why are you guys not, what are you guys doing to curtail the crime? We have one officer that does all of Dunlawton to Nova Road to basically the north end of Herbert Street and all the businesses, including Walmart, everything on Dunlawton Avenue. You want him to, walk around Silver Sands all day? It's not going to happen. Yeah, I mean, and these officers are going to get more transparent. And, to be honest, I don't blame them. You don't blame them. I'm tired of being yelled at by citizens. The officers are tired of being yelled at by citizens. Why did you hold my call? How come no one came out 40 minutes? Because we had no one to send.
So Jared, I hear you. Everyone at this table hears you.
But is it being relayed?
Chief Proctor, I believe between you and Chief Manning, y'all have done a phenomenal job at every shade meeting. And every time I see y'all at a council meeting, y'all relay all the pertinent information regarding everything that is going on. Manny comes right up every council meeting and he is talking to one member or another of council or the public about things going on. Chief Proctor at the last meeting did a phenomenal job of talking about everything you just said regarding crime, retention, recruitment, everything. We can only relay so much. At the end of the day, if council isn't, by a vote approving this to go this way or that way, we have no power individually or collectively to do anything. It is all on your city council. They are the only ones, not me, not Melanie, that can change the pension ordinance. They are the only one that can change pay. We, Melanie or I, can't go and say, well, there's 16 openings in police. We need to raise our pay to $60,000. We don't have that authority. We would have to come to you and say, hey, we have a recruitment issue. We've discussed it with the city manager and council. We would like to bump our pay to $60,000. Will you sign an MOU on that? I'm sure you would, but that's where we all have to work on this. The pension change, I want to say that this is our fourth meeting, and you have done a phenomenal job of relaying your frustrations and, you know, of both yourself and the people you represent. And every last thing, Jared, that you have said, every last thing that you have said is relayed without edit, without,
Curse words aside, I'm sure.
Huh?
Curse words aside, I'm sure.
Yeah, but we don't take a synopsis and say, well, Jared said these 10 things. We relay everything. You know, I mean, I can tell you, I mean, I've always been transparent with you, okay? Every time you say something, I mean, word for word, here's everything that was asked of last time. We didn't modify it. We
Right.
took exactly what you said. So you're heard by the four of us. And I'm sure Proctor goes immediately and tells Mandy.
Oh,
I'm
I
sure
know
Mandy-
Chief Proctor and Chief Marino do a fantastic
Yeah.
job, because I meet and speak with them all the time. So I know that. Like I said, I want to not only be providing the frustrations, but I want to be providing the correct data and the correct questions being asked, because right now, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing another study that's minus two major things that's going to move group 3 into the, oh, well, we don't know land. I don't like that. That to me is exactly what we're trying to bypass the first place of doing these studies. So when we're saying, oh, we're not going to add this and this in there, well, now group 3 means nothing because it's not correct data, because there's 2 points missing out of it. You all noted and offered, like last time, to refund the union their $5,000. I don't want it. Don't want it. So why don't we take that money, that you knowing that I'm not going to take it back, we are not taking it back. We're vested in the future of this police department. I'm vested in the future of my pension with these officers, the sergeants and lieutenants and everyone attached to it. We're vested towards it. I don't care about $5,000. If you know that I'm not taking it back, why don't you apply it to the 2 points?
Well, okay. Then I gotta go back to another shade meeting.
Well, we're not at October 1 yet. So, I mean, the data's
And so it
not
would
ready to go
be-
anyways.
It would be easier and quicker to jump on to our 4 items that council's agreed to and just apply that $5,000 to the other 2 points. At the end of the day, that's all it is, but
Mhm.
we can move forward.
Mhm.
I mean, because if I go back and say, council, you know, they don't want to take the $5,000, okay, but they want us to apply it to the other 2 points, and council could still say, okay, perfect, we're not going to give you them the $5,000, but we're still not going to do the other 2 items.
Mhm.
And then we can just keep going in a circle. It would behoove you, in my opinion, to take that $5,000 and perfect. You do the 4, I'm going to do the 2, and Chad, invoice appropriately.
Mhm.
But I would have to go back and get permission, and I can tell you, I can't guarantee you that council would say anything other than perfect, saved us $5,000.
Well, if that's an option we're thinking of doing, because I don't want anyone to confuse the rhetoric and then accuse me of things that I'm not doing, and because that seems to be a constant in these times. What's the cost per study that Chad's even quoting you?
So
Is that-
he told me,
Because I mean, he is just
so I spoke to him 2 weeks ago.
here's a hell of a number for a thing he already studied.
He told me upwards of $21,000 for all 6 items.
So he's charging you
So some were easier than others.
$3,500 per study.
Average.
Couldn't have a coupon, can't just say, hey, Chad, you're rerunning numbers you already have
I
there.
budgeted
I get it.
$15,000.
Your budget of $15,000, so we're talking, so
$15,000.
For the 4 points.
Well, the 4 points are costing what, 17,000?
Yeah, so I had already completed the budget when council told me the 4, so it had come out of my budget.
So why don't we do this, appropriately then? If we're willing to all do this idea, then have Chad draft your cost and my cost, and I can take that refund and apply it directly to Chad,
Absolutely.
because I'd rather do that. But I want it to be noted for, that way I have a record showing that we're participating, that this money is going for valuable reasons. Because then that's fine, because I gotta have this data. I can't have unknowns, because this city loves unknowns. This city loves to say, we don't know, therefore no. And I want to take that, if that's fine with me, I'll take my refund and I'm gonna directly approve it to go right into those 2 points.
Which 2 points?
The,
Right here.
the normal retirement date and final
Average final
compensation.
compensation.
That way group 3 is actually studied full again.
Correct. And that was not lost, by the
Oh,
way.
I know. I
on
know.
council.
It just seems to be that, see, that's the problem that's the problem for some, is the clarity I have of having been here the short time I have. I've seen how many bait and switches there is done by this council, and I have to constantly think there's an X-Files conspiracy theory to every offer, everything, every move, because it's frustrating. So I think that would be a fantastic way to do this correctly. I think that would be the correct decision I want to go for. And there's whatever the overage is, Chad can tell me what the billing needs to be, and I'll present it to my bargaining unit for approval, and that way I can get you back their approval and basically say, hey, it's good to go, or no, or maybe they say, hey, we only want to do 1, but I'm going to obviously suggest we do the 2 because I want a full picture. Brian, I feel like I'm neglecting you.
You're good. I just want to point out, with regard to the statistics, Port Orange's sworn personnel per people is lower than any other city by a substantial amount. The other issues that I see that I haven't seen taken into account by other city councils that we've been dealing with is Tampa went through the roof with officer pay, which is causing Orlando to now negotiate for through the roof officer pay. The last time this happened, our area lost a large percentage of our sworn personnel to Orlando. That's the route that seems to be happening again. And from what I've seen locally, we're behind the 8 ball again. And as can be seen from those instances, it ends up costing $5 to save 5 cents by not getting out ahead of it. The retirement package is definitely one way to get ahead of it. The way it's going now, this retirement package, even if approved, the best it can be, isn't going to be in before Orlando has their changes and they're recruiting out of this area again. So I think it's just important that the city council knows, in his words, what the storm is ahead. Because it is something that if they don't get ahead of it, it's going to cost a lot more to get people back in.
So you brought up something, so what is your perceived ratio of sworn police officer to per capita?
The data from, I want to say it's last year, is Port Orange is 120, or was 123 sworn personnel per 100,000 people.
So we have a population of roughly 68,000.
It's got it as 63,486. The closest, apart from the sheriff's office, is Ormond at 142. And it's something that can become a bigger problem, as he was saying, that you just don't have the people to answer calls. Then, the public gets very upset with that. It's one of the biggest pet peeves. And that has an effect on morale, has an effect on, who stays here, who moves out, what property values are, and everything else.
So we said this to you previously, Jared,
Uh-huh.
and we even said this to council at the last shade meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal is that by next year, negotiations are done before June 30th. Because if they're not, at the end of the day, the town's already set the budget.
Yeah.
You could come in tomorrow and say, well, we want a $20,000 per, officer raise. Where do I get the money? You weren't in the, you two weren't in the last couple of meetings, but, for us to turn the lights on the same manner that we turned them on this time last year, how much to put fuel in your patrol vehicles, we needed a millage rate of 4.91. They wouldn't give it to us. Would not give it to us. Didn't matter what we said. I felt like, okay, I'm taking everything from age. I took everything from IOPA. I took everything from IFF. Took everything for civil service. And I'm like, I thought I did a very good job. No. So I can't pay for what I'm not given. So unless something drastic happens, and I don't want to see anything like that occur, you got to help me help change.
Oh, I agree.
And not attitude, but perceptions to make a change. And as I said to you, well, not to you, you weren't here, but as I said to Jared before, you cannot compare us to the Volusia County. You cannot compare us to Orlando. You cannot compare us to Tampa. They have something that Port Orange does not have.
Crime.
Yeah, that too. But we don't have the growth to bring in the money that they're able to grow at all the collective bargaining units. We just don't have it. The county, I was called on the carpet to say, well, Mr. McKinney, why do you have to increase taxes here? The county is lowering their millage rate for I think it was the 5th time. I says, because the county gets the benefit of every municipality that is growing and unincorporated. So they are able to throw things that we just can't. So, that is really our biggest issue we have here is, for all intents and purposes, we're built out. And, the citizens who elect our council have to know that if you want to continue to have this level of police, this level of fire, this level of parks, the 3 biggest costs in any government, you're going to have to pay more for that service every year out, because there's just not that growth coming in to offset it. I said it to you before. We don't have a tanker. We don't have a Trader Joe's. We don't have Braun. We just have nothing like that can come here to Port Orange to offset what we all need, not just you, for what I need. I can't hire accountants because I can't pay. We're all in the same boat, just in a different, and I get it, you're on the front line, but the same thing is, if I don't have an accountant to do this or to hire someone for payroll, how do I pay you? So, I mean, it's all we're all in this together.
Well, without it being too much of a soapbox, that's someone has to be able to call attention to the council's failures of not being honest with the public, of saying this is why we're going to do this, not living in fantasy land of having obnoxiously low millages and running the city recklessly, and then all of a sudden now it becomes an issue, and we're trying to you're trying to basically repair a window with toilet paper. That isn't my fault. I didn't elect any of these people. They need to be honest with the citizens and go, hey, this is they're I won't be specific. They're going to do what it is their own benefit, and I can tell who cares. And like I said, I gave credit to Don Burnett. A few years ago, I was watching one of the city meetings, and I said, finally, he says exactly what needed to be said. There's something with, there was something of tension. It was either millage or a topic. And he was in a battle, and he said, we have to stop treating Port Orange as though it is this sleepy little town no one knows about. And I said, thank God you finally said it, because we're in the national news multiple times a year right now, good, bad, or indifferent. This is not a city that people don't know exists. I didn't know it existed when I was young, but like you said, there was nothing in this city. It was just houses. It comes off as more of an extra Daytona if you're not from the area. Now it doesn't. It has its own personality. It has a well-established personality. When you say, I hear that term built out, well, I would agree with you, assuming I didn't see constant construction. Shores is built out. Ponds is built out. They're selling half lots because people want to be there so bad. We're not built out. I like the argument is, though, yes, we own a finite amount of land, but we're not built out. There's I think about 800 acres of property the city owns. That's on Tomoka Farms Road. We're not built out.
We're at 91 to 92%. They expect build out within 10 years.
Well, and let me say, you're spot on with what you said. And I think that's the important thing that the city council needs to realize. One of two things is going to happen at this point. Either they're going to stay up to date on everything and make sure that everything's well funded and property values will continue to rise, or they're going to let it fall off and property values are going to crash. I mean, it's at this point, for lack of a better way to put it, there's either the turn towards Daytona-esque or there's a turn towards Ormond-esque. Property values up and more money for everything, or property values crashing and just have to cram more stuff in order to pay for things. And that's kind of the crossroads that I see Port Orange at right now.
Yeah, I mean, at Tanger, Trader Joe's, maximum benefit ad valorem wise, compared to what they pay, limited required calls for service. Not that you don't have police having to go to Tanger for, people, shoplifting, but compare that to the number of single family homes that could go in that area. A lot more tax revenue comes into the government coffers for that. Tim made a comment to us once, when we were looking at the map. Port Orange established for the new developments, the conservation set. We could put, 20-25% more homes in that same area, bring in more revenue, but they want spread out green space. So, but that's just what Port Orange decided to do. So it really boils down to is, and you've said it repeatedly,
Mhm.
we both said it, we have to change expectations of tomorrow to pay for the cost that we agreed to incur yesterday. And I really shouldn't comment any further than that.
Well, I get you, that's why I do, because,
City council has to work around that,
Yeah.
obviously. That's an
Correct.
issue they have to deal with no matter what, because let's say it's 10 years from now, they're built out. What does that mean? In 10 years, everyone's wages, everything else just freezes and that's that because we're built out? No, they work around that, right? They have to find ways to solve that problem because you can't expect people to just, stop where they are with wages and benefits and everything else. But again, not to seem uncaring, but that's their problem, not ours. We obviously still have to represent our membership and ask for these increases like everyone else does. They need to find a way around it or to get there. So that's on them. I can tell you right now, if that's the only stuff they're going to come back with later, where they offer essentially nothing to our tier 1 people other than a maximum benefit that's raised that doesn't affect most of them ever, with an increased contribution, they're wasting their time and ours. So as creative as they need to get, they need to find ways to offer something better than that going forward.
I think what we're gonna, and I'm writing it down so I can give you it, so there's no confusion, because I know we talk about a lot of stuff, but I want that study to be done the way it needs to be done, so I'm willing to put forth that effort, and that's what I'll relay to the bargaining unit when I ask them for their approval or disapproval. Again, I had this discussion the other day with recruitment, because we said, no one wants to be a cop anymore. I said that's not true. You're not willing to, in the simplest of terms, pay for that amazing officer. I said, and then when I was in this debate with the administrator about it, I said, if you tomorrow morning said, easy answer, you said you paid $100 an hour for a cop. I said, you'd have 4,000 applicants probably in the first hour. So you can be as selective as you want. I can take the guy who knows 4 languages, has 8 degrees, at military service, he can key off 9 million guys at once. That's what you get when you offer these substantial types of benefits. And so I apply it when we're talking, I apply it in this essence of who's not coming here. We're not trying to bait people to live here. That's why your realtors are asking 30% over asking price. So we're not in that situation where we're trying to advertise people to come here. We're almost kind of like, hey, we want to close shop. If you want to pay, you got to pay hard. So that's where kind of we differentiate. The council needs to be that transparent up front and go, hey, listen, we got no shortage of people who want to enter this city, and they're willing to pay for it, and the realtors are taking advantage of it. So we need to say, hey, this is clear up front. This is what you're going to pay, but you're going to get the best level parks, the best level schools, the best level service from your city, and people are paying that. If they weren't, you wouldn't have $800,000 homes being built right now. We have them, so they're there. No one's not trying to come into the city. Edgewater is taking advantage of just land and advertising itself, but they're using that, hey, we're a little cheaper, which is fine. We're going to have to do that. We're the club with 2 miles of a line. We're saying we only want the best of the best. So we have to take it, I say constructively, I want that to be I want the city council to take advantage of that thought. And that's the main point here that I'm going to continue to argue and continue to fight against, is this idea of we just don't have the money to do it. I get that. I didn't cause that, nor did you, nor did anyone here. We didn't cause that. But someone has to push this unwillingness to the water and go, listen, you're going to do this. Everyone else is doing this. You are not going to take a hit. You're not going to not get reelected because this city feels safer. Just because some people haven't needed the fire department does not mean that they're not willing to look at the big picture and go, oh, I can get an ambulance at my house at 2 minutes to save my mom who's having a heart attack, or they move out to county and we'll be there in 12 minutes. That's what we offer. We're offering that. So same with our parks. If we're pulling these, when we have these July 4th celebrations, you see a lot of people who don't live in this city show up. There's a reason why. There's a reason why. It's clean, it's safe, it's comfortable, it's family friendly. So why are we pulling Edgewater people, New Smyrna people, Oak Hill people? Why are we pulling them? They all have their own little fireworks displays. They feel safe here. They want a taste of the palace. So we're giving that to them. So the city council has to, and that's why I'm going to continue to be obnoxious about it. I didn't create the issue. The city council created the issue. They need to stop. I'm not going to let them go with the idea that they're willing to let the floods continue to come out in exchange for, well, I kept millage low, re-let me. I'm not interested. You get no support from me, and in fact, you get no support from the city people who work here. And then the real citizens of Port Orange that are paying attention and are realistic are going, I'd pay an extra $10 in my taxes if it meant that the service was top level. But no one tells them that. I never see that relayed at these council meetings. They just say big exorbitant numbers and, oh, that's a lot of money, and not, hey, if everyone could come together and put $3, we could actually solve a major crisis of fire, policing, whatever it is, parks and rec. Hey, I could hire 10 mechanics. Hey, the citizens need to understand, hey, we could have the parks in star level shape if everyone was willing to put in 80 cents that this budget would cost. Oh, okay. My kids, I got 5 kids, they all go to the park. But we don't do that. They don't do that. So I'm gonna leave this proposal for you all to get to Chad, and that way he can draft it, whatever he drafts. But I'm gonna leave that for you. So I'm adding in my final average compensation back, and I'm adding in my normal retirement date back for study, taking the retirement, and not asking you to go counsel. I'm just saying, send me the bill, take my refund, put it towards that, and I'll get you the approval relatively short within the week, because it won't take me long to have a bargaining unit for that approval, because I'm just going to estimate if it's $3,500 per, so I need to estimate adding another $2,000 towards this.
Yeah, so I think that what we should do is, like I said, I've already reached out to Chad. I'll send this back to him, asking him to give us the split, and then she can send it to you.
Yep, perfect.
And then, and now that this is in the CBA,
We just need to do some wordsmithing.
and they want it in there.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they do.
So, John, if they do, I guess the question that Chad would be, would it be cheaper to do the whole study the way it's been presented?
Well,
The
yeah.
numbers, or does this council want to do it à la carte, or they're doing one?
No. It's to be done à la carte. We're paying for, they're willing to pay for 2, using the money. Chad has to come back and say, I'm not the actuary, but he might come back and say, I've got to do 2 first. You're one for, next. I mean, he's got to tell us. So all I'm going to do is send this back to him saying, give us the total price for the 6, the city paying the 4, and then what order does this have to be completed in? And that's what Chad said he was going to give back 2 weeks ago, and he's not. And then if we give this to us, we'll say we'll give you this information no later than November 1st, and when can this be completed by? Like I said, I'll promise to you that I will make sure that IUPA is the first group that we submit as part of year end.
Mhm. All right, well, that sounds good. That way I can, whenever you have it ready, email it to me so I can present to the bargaining unit for approval. And then I'll get you an email response that way you have it quicker. And there's no issues with that. And then we'll move on. If it's approved, we'll move on from there. If I get a disapproval, I'll let you know what the disapproval was. And I'll try to either, I'll send you whatever it happens to be. If it happens to be a money problem or it happens to be an agreeance problem, I may send you something back over email. Hey, they're willing to do this, or just take, hey, they don't want to do this one X, take X off. But I don't foresee. I know what the bargaining unit wanted studied, and I don't think they're gonna not want to use their money to make sure they have the correct numbers, and I'm going to advise them of the same thing. So I think that'll be good, and then we'll go from there. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
He was talking.
Are you doing any wordsmithing on that, or do you want to?
I'm gonna hand it to you like this because I already took my photocopy for it.
Okay, it's in your email.
Okay.
So if you do any wordsmithing, you just hit track changes, it'll save it all, but
Okay.
based on what you said, we
I'm
can
not-
probably.
Yeah,
give you
I'm not
another
good with
article.
that type of wording.
Okay, so we'll,
But I think we agree on what, I would like to say we're agreeing on what we wanted to do. And I'm just putting it, I'm putting just a note in here that just says the $5,000 refund is going to go towards the 2 points that I want studied, X and X. And then when Chad provides me whatever the extra bill is, that way I can get him that for that particular portion also.
Wouldn't be in my opinion, that wouldn't be in the CBA. That would be on the pension side, that you're just agreeing to.
we have to read.
Yeah.
Because we're saying we're giving the 5,000 back.
Yeah, what you do with that $5,000
Right.
is irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're just convoluting, saying that, well, we're giving it, then you're sending it over here. That's just done on your business side of the house.
Okay. Once you give me that info, just email it to me, but I think we're good today. Thank you.
Thank you.